Okay, so it's been a while, a little bit, just but yeah, I've been working on some stuff in the game. I kept doing all these little busy work, not quite design elements. They're not build design elements. They are filling the house with things so that it looks lived in design elements, right? So I kept doing things and it would be just like a little bit of it at a time. And then I'd feel like, well, I didn't really do anything. I can't make a video about, hey, I added forks or whatever. But it took forever, every little thing I did. And you're going to hear me mention a lot that, like, this is one of those fidgety little, fussy things where I did a bunch of detail work and had to use that one tool that lets you place anything essentially anywhere, right? And that it took a lot of time. And most of these things are that where it just like, it took hours to do something very small, very minor. And I couldn't really make a whole video out of like, I placed cups. I placed silverware. So it's been months, but I have another video for you. I did a bunch of stuff. I think I recorded this once and didn't have it recording my game screen. I had it recording my third monitor, which is just a plain desktop background the whole time. So I did my entire walkthrough recording everything and then figured out, oh no, I didn't look. And it was worthless, so I trashed it. But that video walkthrough took an hour and a half, and it didn't even include the nighttime view of anything, which I like doing. So I am redoing it, and I'm probably going to split it into parts. So despite the fact that this is like several months worth of work, and I would have normally just walked through it in one big chunk, the fact that it was an hour and a half without nighttime walkthrough, just, I don't know, that seemed a bit excessive. So I'm going to try and break this into chunks. Since we're already outside, we will do the outside chunk first. And I did do some stuff out here. I'm going to walk around the right side of the house over here, even though I didn't really change much of anything. I'm still going to do that. Just because I want to. But mostly what I changed was over on this left. You can see there's like the hedge is much taller. And so there's stuff over here. I figured out mostly what I want to do with the left-hand side, and talking through all of that is going to take plenty of time. I might also do the garage as part of this quote unquote outside portion. Because I think that should be a good enough chunk to do both daytime and nighttime and then make that one video. We'll see. But yeah, so that's currently the plan, and I'm going to break it into chunks, but I might release them all at the same time, just because they were all part of the same series of months where I did a whole bunch of stuff and was like, that's not enough, and then I finally went to record it all and went, oh my god, it's too much. So yeah, we'll see. But okay, so we'll start. We're going to go around the right-hand side here. First off, I added this thing. It doesn't work exactly the way that I expected it to. It does work with lights though, which I didn't know at first. I thought it only worked for doors because it's a switch, right? So this is a switch and it's going to turn on all these lights, which is amazing. But as soon as I step away, it turns them all off. So it doesn't quite work the way that they work in real life, where you can set it to a timer, right? Where if the thing senses motion, which that's what this is, it senses motion, not really motion in this case, I guess. It's like the presence of an object, the absence of an object. It's just an on-off switch. But in real life, these are designed so that it's a motion sensor, and if it senses motion, it will leave the lights on for a set amount of time. And that's what I really wanted so I put it here as like this is how this is in real life, but it's not right in this. Sort of like those empty switches I have for up in the bathrooms for fans, where they don't turn anything on or off, but there would be a fan switch. So I included an empty switch, right? That's this. It's not going to work exactly the way that I want it to, and you'll see it turn on and off at several other places. I'll point out all the ones that are on the outside. But it's just going to turn them on and off temporarily. And well, for as long as you're standing in front of it. But it's also, I found out, got like one little detrimental thing because of that feature is that if I turn on the lights, I've got this set up in the hallway in the house. If I turn them on and then I walk past one of these, it flips the on switch because I walked past it close enough for it to activate, and then it'll turn them all off because I walk away. So like, despite the fact that the switch for the lights is on, it overrides that. I don't know how that would work in real life. I'm curious. If anyone knows, you're welcome to leave a comment. But I did kind of want these inside the house too in certain places that I felt like made sense. So hopefully in real life that could be overridden by the switch itself and it wouldn't be able to turn them on and off. Anyway, let's go around the rest of the outside. I still only have lights on the front and back sides, right? I don't have any over here. I've thought about adding some of these post lights to go down this way. Originally my thought was to add some along some of those house lights, the side of the house lights, but I don't want this to be all lit up. These are sort of not cozy spaces. The bedrooms are up here. Those are more cozy spaces, but like even the formal dining room and the regular dining room, I don't want light coming in the evening just because, right? Like I want to be able to control the lighting in those rooms. So putting lights on the side of the house kind of felt like a bad idea, but maybe extending the posts down this way would give it that light. Because right now at nighttime, despite their changes to lighting, which are amazing, and I will talk about when I do the nighttime view in this video, despite those changes, it is still, like, it would be dark along the side of the house. You saw it before the nighttime changes. It's very dark along the side of the house without any lights. And I don't know, I feel like I should fix that it would make more sense to fix that. So we'll see, but I haven't done that yet. It might get added in a future video, and then I'll walk along the side of the house again, and you'll get to see that lovely side of the house one more time, at least. But yeah, so nothing really changed with the pool. This is all the same. All of this is the same. What I will say, though, is they changed. My last video, I talked about, like, having to switch into the, like, play test mode, play test, I guess is what they call it, the play test mode. And so that I could get the metals and other surfaces to show up properly, because they look a lot different in playtest versus regular. And they've made changes to that, so now all the metals look fine in the building mode. So I just left it in building mode for this, because obviously all these things are floating, and we showed you in the last video that they sink in playtest. I don't know if that's something I did, like if I could have placed these on the water properly and then they would have floated. I've seen in their pictures for this, like, not expansion really, because again, you don't have to pay for this. This just comes with the game. But this patch that they added, I'll call it that, the patch that they added, they had stuff in the pool floating. So I think it's supposed to. Maybe not. I don't know. But mine doesn't. It definitely sinks. So yeah, I don't know if that's something I did, but I'm in the build mode and all my metal looks proper, which makes me very happy that things are looking. The only thing that looks different, I think, is this flooring in playtest is like super shiny. You can see some of it here underneath the shadow of the parasol or the sunshade, whatever you want to call that. The floor there is really shiny in that shaded section. That's how all of this looks in playtest. And it doesn't do that in the regular, though I haven't gone into playtest since the changes, so maybe they just made this a less shiny surface, which would also be fine. But yeah, it looks, that part I remember looked different, but the metals all look perfect now. They look the way that they're meant to look, and I'm very happy. Oh, one thing I did add to this backside. So there's one here, these mats, another one here, and then one here. And these are sort of like welcome mats that you put at the front of the door, but obviously they're not a welcome mat because they're at the back side of the house. They're just mats so that when you come in from the pool, you can wipe off your feet and not track water into the house. So I put one at every door that's near this pool. Hopefully this one, since it's also near the grass, wouldn't get too dirty and make your feet dirty as you walk in, because like the combination of dirt plus water would not be great. But the intention is for it to just get water off your feet. So that's what those are for. And then let's see. Oh, right. Okay. So I did, it's like barely perceptible, but I moved the swing set just a tiny bit backwards because of the tree, because what I did do, and it's also probably not noticeable, but it was a big change. I rotated this tree. I didn't move it anywhere, but I rotated the tree so that the branches would be faced differently, which was challenging because where I had it before, there weren't any branches that went into the house. That was my big concern, was having it so that, because there's a lot of really, really long branches on this tree. I can't trim them. And so there's a lot of really long branches on this tree, and they extended into the house if I turned it certain directions. And I found what I thought was the one and only direction where that wasn't the case. But I have now found another direction where that is possible. And the reason I had to do that is you see some of these branches hang lower, and I think it was maybe specifically this one that was in the way, but it could have been one of these other ones that just hangs low, you can see. I built this shed, and the shed, when I had the tree turned the original direction, had some of the branches go inside the roof. Like you could see them when you went in the shed, and that obviously not ideal, and I'm very fussy, so I had to find a rotation for this tree that wouldn't put branches inside my shed, but also didn't put branches inside my house. So that took a little bit of doing, but I got it, and I didn't even have to move the tree, which makes me happy. What I did move was this birdhouse. Again, probably not noticeable that I moved it, but I did, and now it sits on this little lump in the tree, which I think is kind of cute. But yeah, so I rotated that to be over by the lump, because once I rotated the tree, the lump was there, and I was like, well, that's kind of nice. So yeah. But really what I built here is this shed, and then obviously also this thing and what's beyond it. But we'll go in the shed first. One of the things I'm going to mention while we're outside, so this window is like a frosted glass. It's not intended to be. What I'd really like it to be is this glass, which is that sort of two-way mirror thing, where you can see out of it very clearly, but you can't see in. It's reflective. And the reason for that is you're gonna keep more expensive things in a shed, like your lawnmower and your snowblower, although maybe that makes I talked about in the first recording that didn't work so well that doesn't really make a whole lot of sense to have the snowblower so far away from the driveway, which is where you would use it. But also there's no space in that garage, which you'll see when we get there. So I ended up tucking it in the shed, but that's why I have this ramp that goes into the shed, is so that things that have wheels, the wheelbarrow, the snowblower, oops, that's over here, and then the lawnmower, those can all, you know, come out of the shed without being sort of forcefully dropped onto the ground. That can wreck them over time. So I built a little ramp going into this shed, which might be annoying, honestly, to to do the grass around, but oh well, right? Like, something has to be sacrificed. So this is that window I was talking about. From the outside you saw it was reflective. From the inside you can see out just fine, which is nice. I made the walls in here match this pavement that's out this way. We'll go out here for a second. This pavement is the same thing that's on the wall in here. It kind of has that like rusticy feel, and then I added some wood of varying colors to the walls in here too, because I felt like that matched pretty well. And it also allows for utility hooks to be put in this wall. Obviously they don't exist in this game, so I don't have them in in here holding up the shovels and the spade and all this stuff, but it would have utility hooks, and so I figured having a couple of wooden walls versus the brick walls would make sense for being able to hang things in your shed. But we'll just go through real quickly. I couldn't change the color of the lawnmower or the snowblower, which drives me crazy because, as I mentioned before, yellow is not my favorite color. In fact, it's, besides orange, probably my least favorite color. So having this as a set, like, these have to be yellow, kind of drives me crazy. But, you know, whatever. Like, I would actually change my decision on buying a lawnmower based on its color. If I can't get it in something other than yellow, I probably won't buy that lawnmower. So yeah, anyway, that's how much I hate that color specifically. We have two hoses. I thought about adding two more over on this right hand side. I'm not sure if I'm going to, but Their yard is quite large, obviously, and it just felt like maybe more than 2 hoses would be appropriate for their lawn. Like 2 is normally good for a lawn. That's plenty, usually. These also look like they're pretty long hoses, but their yard being what it is, I kind of thought maybe 4 is more appropriate for it. We'll see. I might duplicate those over to the right side as well. I do have a window going out the back that essentially just looks into the neighbor's yard, but since it's up high, it really only looks at their tree, which is nice. So you're not getting like a full-on view of the neighbor yard, but you're also getting some light in and some greenery in here. I like the views out these windows. They're kind of calming. I didn't put a window on this side because you're hanging tools, and I wanted a space to hang taller tools. So no window, but I did do this thing, which I thought was pretty clever. I've never seen it done before. So it's an original idea, but maybe not like something no one's ever done before. I put this corkboard in here because this is sort of like their gardening shed, right? Like you could use it for other things, but mostly it's got your tools for gardening. And so I, at my previous house, had this, so our basement walked out. It was a walkout basement. We had a deck coming off of the second floor. And we had one of those standing cedar planters, right? So it's not a planter that sits on the ground. It's got legs that raise it up off the floor. And since it was cedar and since it was on the second story, we just really didn't have to worry about bugs or worms or any of the things that I cannot stand at all when gardening. I can't. So our plants didn't have like their leaves eaten away or part of the plants eaten away. It was a really nice setup. And I'm hoping to recreate that in the future when we build our own house, is have, walkout basement, second story with a deck, and have one of those planters again. What I had, obviously, since we had a planter, was seeds to plant. And I will say, normally we kept these in a drawer, right? And you fold over, like after you open it, you fold it over, try and keep it closed so the seeds don't spill out. But that doesn't always work super well. And sometimes the seeds, like if you open the drawer forcefully and it's come open somehow, the seeds will just go flying into the drawer, right? And if multiple packets do that, then you've got a mix of seeds in your drawer, and they're all usually pretty small. And it's hard to tell, like, oh, this seed was this one, this one's this one, right? So sorting them after that is just a pain. And I kind of thought this was brilliant to put them in, like, on this corkboard. There aren't any pins for like corkboard pins in the game. That would be really cool to be able to pin things as well. But there aren't currently any pins in the game. So just imagine those are here. Also, these bags, despite being able to be placed on a wall surface, like I could put them on this brick wall, which is what I did. They don't allow you to put them on the corkboard. It's not considered the same sort of surface. So I had to very manually, this is one of those things, very manually move all of these parts into position because they didn't want to do what I wanted them to do. But I did. I lined them all up on this corkboard because I thought this would make the most sense to keep everything orderly and not spilling, and you don't have to worry about, physics of the drawer and all the seeds just going flying. So I was pretty proud of this idea, and I think that, when we build our house, if we end up with a little gardening shed, which I'd love, I might recreate this in our actual house. I think this was kind of brilliant, so we'll see. The only other thing, so I did like I said, the shovels and then the rakes and the spade in here on the wall, and there aren't hooks to show that they're being held up by something, but that is the intention. And then I put in this shelf that matches the little gardening, it's not a desk, what is this? Like a tool bench kind of thing? I don't know. I put in a shelf to match it, and then I put a couple of watering cans in and a clock on this wall. So yeah, that's what I did over here. But then in this drawer is the only other thing I did, which was to put in the little hand rake and then the hand prongs. I don't know what these 3-pronged things are. I'm not much of a gardener. I enjoy gardening, but I'm not like a fanatic about it. So if it was a special interest of mine, I would know all the things and what all these things are called, but I don't, and it's not, mostly because bugs and worms and dirt on my hands is the worst, so, you know. Anyway, but I've got a couple spades, and I've got the hand rake, and then whatever the 3-prong things are called, and then a trowel, I think is what this is called, the little flat one, and then a gardening shears. So we've got some accessories for gardening in here, and then let's see, I think that's it. I think that's it for the shed. We'll go outside next. This area is not quite what I want it to be. It's done. I'm not going to be able to do anything else unless they make changes to the game that allow for what I actually envision this to look like, but it's done. Close enough, whatever. So the thing that's not done about it is the flooring. You see that it's dirt, and the pathways to it are dirt paths, and that's just really not in line with any of the rest of the design of this house. They're fancier than that. They would have stone, like pebbles at the very least, but probably just paved, like paver stones or something. Or even like stepping stones leading in. I tried to do that, but their stepping stones are rectangular in nature, and it looked like the angles that I could rotate them at to get to here looked really bad. It just looked dumb. So I took them out. This one, I actually got angles that looked okay, but again, it's just like, well, one side has them and the other doesn't. That doesn't make sense. So I ended up just going with dirt all the way around. I also couldn't use like the pavement stuff. There isn't anything that puts a rounded edge on it. You can do one rounded edge. It's got a very specific curvature, and you cannot change that curvature at all to make it like longer or wider, or, you know, there's no change in that shape. It's a very small curvature, and that's all you get. And I was like, that doesn't fit my needs at all. So while I could have done this inside curve, any of those curves like I did here, I could have done that one, but the outside curve that goes, you know, this sort of like the outside of a clock curve, that one I can't do. So I just skipped it and put in dirt. But imagine this is paving stones or something, probably along the lines of what I've got going on over here, right? Which will go in there later. But that is what I intend for this to look like. Other than that, though, these lights look really nice at night. I'll show you that in a bit. And the fire pit in the middle does actually light up with fire. They've done better with fire in other spots in the game. This one's very, like, you get one line of it. It's weird a little bit. But I appreciate that they did it at all. That it lights up at all is fantastic. And when it lights up, it makes, as you could see, that little glow effect. And the way that that lights up this space is really nice. So I'll show that later too. Not knocking it. I appreciate that they did it at all. It was a little funny to me when I saw it the first time. Okay, so the benches, there's 3 of them. I figured depending on like how wide a person is and how comfortable they are being squished up next to other people, you can get 2 or 3 people on each bench probably. And so it's roughly 6 to 9 folks you could sit around this fire pit, which seems like a decent number. And then obviously there's the little arches that go out any of the 3 directions, so you're not like trapped with like, I can only leave this way or this way. You can kind of go wherever. I do want to add, and have not yet, some flowers around this. Like I'd like this to be a little bit more gardeny and designed than what it currently is. Also maybe fill in these little corner gaps around the outside, just to make the hedge look more uniform, because again, we don't have rounded things, so the hedges are very square, and I would probably make a rounded hedge around this if it was real life, right? So anyway, that's I want to do a little bit more with this, and if I can figure out a way to round off those corners, I might try, or even just like close them off so that there's not gaps that look in, because that's a little weird. But I'd like to put flowers there too, for sure. Add some gardening effects. I might end up either just rotating or somewhat moving this tree, and we'll talk about that in a second. So I extended the pathway, you can see, from the one that goes all the way from the garage door over here now. Used to just go over to the edge of the driveway for the walkway up to the house. But now it goes all the way over here so that you can also come into this area, which is currently a soccer field. And this is the one that it's done. This is done, probably. There's one thing I might change, like add to it, but otherwise it's done. But it's not done exactly the way that I wanted it to be, quote unquote, done. So what I envisioned for this, and maybe I'll change the flooring in here and like fill it with something else so that it's like a rubberized looking surface, if I can find something like that. Because here's the ideal, is that this would be a multi-purpose space. So it's not just for soccer. It would be used for basketball and tennis and badminton. They have these items in the game, tennis and badminton, like balls and the little birdies for badminton. They have basketballs. You can play flag football on it. That would be more appropriate for grass, because if you fall over, it's gonna hurt a little bit on rubber, but you know, whatever, like you could still play on it. But I wanted it to be more multi-purpose. Oh, volleyball. They've got volleyballs in the game. They don't have any nets for volleyball, unless I'm severely mistaken, but I don't remember seeing any. But also they probably wouldn't work the way that I want them to, which would be like to be collapsible so that I could put them off to the side here and leave the soccer nets out for now and just have that be like, you know, here's soccer. And then I wanted the portable basketball hoops, you know, the ones that have like the big sandbag bottom. It's not a sandbag, it's plastic, but you know what I mean, where you put either sand or water, something heavy in it to keep it stable so it doesn't tip over. And then it has a basketball pole and hoop, like baseboard and hoop and all that. What they do have is a basketball baseboard and hoop that is something that would go on the garage, like right above where the garage is right there, that little up angular piece, triangular piece, would be where the basketball hoop would go, and you'd, you know, throw balls at it. But that's decorative, like there's a decorative piece that you can't see from this distance. There's a decorative piece on top there, right? So the basketball hoop is not going there, but also I wanted it to be mobile, right? I wanted there to be two of them, one on either side. You could play like, I know this is a smaller field of play, but you could still play as a kid a game, or you could just put up one if you're, you know, later teens and taller and want a full range, right? So yeah, that was my thought, was it'd be nice if this was a multi-purpose space rather than like this can only be soccer and maybe flag football, right? Football, they couldn't put up goals, but everything else, I feel like you could multi-purpose this space for pretty much anything else, and it would work really nicely. But for basketball especially, and really volleyball too, the badminton you could play on the grass, and volleyball you could technically play on the grass. I know we did as kids. We had a yard with a setup similar to this, where only it went horizontally instead of vertically, right? So instead of going towards the backyard, it went along the front of the house. And we just had this really long strip of grass, and we would play, you know, flag football, soccer, and we did badminton, and not tennis, but volleyball. Tennis would be hard with this. There's nothing to bounce. So basketball really, and the tennis would need this to have a harder surface. Everything else you could get away with the grass. So I don't know. I thought that'd be nice if it had it, but if it doesn't, maybe I build it in the basement. And maybe that would be a good use of the basement, honestly. I'm still not done designing that space, so we'll see. The other thought I had was, you know me and the safety thing, right? We talked about safety a lot in the pool, where I was like, oh, these bump outs, they're for safety, and this is a safety feature. The lights are a safety feature. I'm a very cautious person, and unlike my street where I grew up, where it was windy and tucked back in a neighborhood, and like cars were not speeding down that street. They were going slow. It was a neighborhood street with lots of kids and pets. And this street out here, you can see, it's got like the double yellow lines. It's very straight. It just kind of looks like it's more towards the center of a city. And so, like, maybe not in the city, maybe it's still suburban, but it looks like it would get traffic that would maybe think that it was safe to go faster. And I really don't like that idea. So I thought, you know, if a ball went over this fence, which would be super easy to do, if it went over this fence and out into the street, then you got a kid running out this gate to chase their ball into the street. And maybe even, you know, like depending on where a car was positioned as it came out, maybe even causing an accident as the ball came flying at it, kind of thing, right? If it shocks the person enough where they're like, oh, what is this? And so just like, that's not ideal. And safety wise, my brain is thinking it'd be really nice to have some sort of remote controlled extendable net that I could put around the sides of this so that it didn't go in the neighbor's yard, so that it didn't go in the street. It wouldn't really matter if it went out this way, but I'd still put a net around it. This specific direction, it could maybe break some of the front windows by the front door, right? If it went certain angles. This direction is probably safe. You're probably not going to hit it hard enough to hit any of these windows off this way, but still, like if you could have, or if a car's pulling up, that would be potentially dangerous. If you could have a net going all the way around here that was remote controlled on, you know, posts that sort of disappeared down into the hedge and then came back up, or some other way, you know, extended, that'd be nice. And then or I guess not, and then, or alternatively, a thought I had, although this would make this space maybe unbearably hot, so I probably wouldn't do it, but it's a kind of fun idea, is that they have those glass windows that I used in the bathroom way over here, the master bathroom, that are resizable in any direction, right? Top to bottom, side to side. And so I could put the windows, and they've got one that is like overhead. I could put the windows along these sides and make, like, if they were sort of that resilient sort of glass that you can really chuck things at, and they're just balls, so they're softer. If I put that all the way around here, then that could block it, and it wouldn't block view, so they wouldn't have to be something collapsible, right? They could just stay up. And then I could put one overhead, and this could be for all seasons, right? So then if it's raining out, you could still come in here and play without getting drenched. And the yard wouldn't be all sloppy. But also, I kind of think that would make this really unbearably hot, maybe. I'm not sure. Maybe it wouldn't. But it seems like it could. If you opened up the gates, maybe that might get better. Like, the gates already have breaks in them for the airflow. You wouldn't want to open this one, because then the ball could still go out in the street. But if you opened this gate and that gate, that wouldn't be such a big deal, and maybe that would let enough of the air pass through to make it not stifling in here, hopefully. So that's a thought I had. If I do that, they don't have nets. That's not something I could put up. So when I talked about possibly moving or rotating this tree, it was in case I do the glass thing. And I put glass going up because you can see part of the tree overhangs this fence. And so when I thought about doing that and started trying to do that, it was running into tree branches. And I was like, well, I don't like how that looks. And at that time, I hadn't quite built out the pergola area, and I wasn't sure how that was going to look, so I didn't want to move the tree a bunch. And so I just didn't. And I took all the window stuff down that would go all the way around, would wrap all the way around. But I might do that. I might. We'll see. It would sure look nice to have sort of a safety feature that goes all the way around here and blocks the ball from escaping in ways that you don't want it to. So just a thought. But that's this space so far. And then let's see. We've got the garage next. I guess before we go to the garage, I'm just going to quickly touch on the other lights. So this one turns on the one over the front door. So if someone walks up, ideally this would be angled a little bit so that it would catch someone on the approach, right? It wouldn't just notice them about here, which is probably the range where it's going to see them. You would want it to catch them about here and turn on these front lights. But that's the idea with that is it would be another motion sensor one that would turn on lights in here if someone was approaching the front door. And then I've got one in here for this space as well. So if you're sitting in here, kind of rocking in one of these swings, it's going to keep the lights on for you in the pergola area, which would be nice. And you don't have to manually turn them on. They can just be on because you're there. So, or you can manually turn them on because there are light switches for that. So that was my thought with all of that. We'll go in the garage now. You'll remember that there was a black car here and now there's two more and a whole bunch of stuff, with the rose gold edging along the bottom, right? The trim on the bottom was rose gold, and I couldn't stand it. Every time I came in here, I was just like so upset that it was rose gold. And when I added 2 more cars, I was like, okay, well, yeah, now I'm gonna change it because it looks extra tacky next to 2 cars that look relatively normal. So I fixed it. It's no longer rose gold. I gave up on my dream of having rose gold. And we're gonna go in here. I scooted a little bit with magic, the fly mode, because you can't walk through here. You would be able to in real life. You'd be able to turn sideways and scoot out, but in the game, it does not let you do that. But you can walk alongside all of these cars. So we'll do that real quick just to show. I made sure that all the sides were fitted properly. And that was part of the reason for the beds. If you remember the beds that were in here when I had 2 each, was I wanted to figure out where the walls should go so that you could still walk alongside them. So it worked is the point. That worked, and everything was sized properly off of the double beds. So if you don't want to put a car in your game, a couple beds will work. I think the only difference was that the noses on these, since they're sort of sedan, like not sedans, hatchback style cars, is that the nose on them is longer than what I was expecting. And so they're just a little bit longer nose to tail than what the beds covered, but not by a whole lot. It's pretty darn close. So it was a good estimate. And it helped me make space for shelves, which is what this is, obviously. And we've got those tennis balls I mentioned, the birdies. I didn't look for rackets. I should have. I don't know why I didn't, but I didn't look for rackets. I did, like I said, look for a basketball hoop, and there was only the one style. Not even one on a pole where you could like plant that in a permanently in your driveway kind of thing. That doesn't exist. It's just the back baseboard one, and I don't love that. So I didn't put one up, but we'll see. There also weren't any poles in the game that I could fidget with to like make it look like I had a basketball hoop. Actually, I have a pole in the basement. I wonder how I did that. I'll have to see what that was made out of. Maybe there is a pole that I could have kind of fudged this a bit with. We'll see. Maybe I fix my own problem creatively. But anyway, so for now, though, we've got skis over here. I won't bother going into colors. I will say this blue car is obviously the son's car, and then the black one belongs to the dad, and the white one belongs to the mom. So that's how the colors of the cars go. You could share, right? So if someone's got a car and you're like, I need a car real quick, and whatever, like these could be shared and swapped. Or, you know, mine's low on gas and I need to travel a long way. Could I borrow yours? Whatever. They're a family. They share. But that's the intention, is these are the colors assigned to each of them. So we've got the skis over here for the dad. In this case, in the case of all this stuff, the mom is the gray one. The dad's always black. And then we've got the 2 kids' skis, and then the ski boots for them up here. And then the son has like sort of a more mature design on his snowboard, and the daughter has snowflakes on hers, which I thought were like cute but not too childish, so they make sense because she's always trying to not be a kid, right? She really looks up to, as I've mentioned before, her older brother and idolizes him and wants to be more mature to, you know, be able to do all the things with him. So this isn't too childish. As a pattern, I thought. And so these are the boots that go with the snowboards. And we already talked about those. Balls. We've got some hockey pucks over here on the wall. You'll, again, have to imagine that there are heavy-duty utility hooks on the wall for those hockey sticks, but they do exist. And then I decided, very gender stereotypically, that the dad and the son have hockey skates, and the mom and the daughter have ice skates, figure skates, however you want to call them, and just the normal kind of ice skates. But I also found these bookends that have the gear on them. They've been in the game for a while. I definitely have seen them, and I think I used them maybe in one other design before. But they went really well in a garage setting, right? Because it's a gear. So I needed something to make it look like these should be standing up. Also, all of these should have blade protectors on them, but they don't. that doesn't exist in the game. I can't fit a blade protector onto them, which I would, because I grew up on a lake where we were skating in the backyard on the lake in the winter. And we had blade protectors for our ice skates, but you know, so like my little neurotic part is like, this is so not good for these blades. But anyway, I have them, they wouldn't stand on their blade. Blade protector or not, they're not going to stand up nicely on top of their blade. They're too top heavy. So they would normally collapse sideways, right? I didn't want that. Well, I didn't want to fidget that because I could have like manually collapsed them all sideways so they were laying on their sides more naturally. But I decided instead I would put in the bookends to make it look like, hey, that's that. Sorry, I put in one of those motion detector things here. I'll explain that one in a minute, but to make it look like, hey, there's a reason these are standing up nicely, and it's because they're being bookended on either side, right? And because they're pressed together, they'll hold each other up so that they stand upright, which is, it looks nice. And that's how the game wants them to be. They want to stand straight. So I was like, fine, whatever. We'll do it. Okay, I keep walking past it and tripping it, so we'll talk about it. We've got the motion detector here. That's supposed to not check, but like see the garage door movement or a car pulling in, depending on how sensitive it is, in any of these three. And if it doesn't pick up this third lane, because it's kind of off to this side, then there's another one over here that would. It's mostly, this one's designed to pick up motion from this door so that it would turn on the inside lights in the garage. So that was my thought, but it would also definitely pick up motion from a car coming in this garage door. And then there's one last one over here by the door, which is supposed to detect motion either coming up the stairs or when this door opens, then it would set off that trigger, right? Because it's movement. So that was sort of the thought there, was those ones would all set off based on those parameters. I moved the fire extinguisher, not detector, fire extinguisher. It used to be up on this wall, but it kind of felt like it'd be in the way if you're working on maybe a taller project on your workbench. So I moved it off to the side. I didn't want it to conflict with getting groceries in and out of the little pantry pass-through. So it's down low enough, I think it's out of the way. It also shouldn't conflict too much with the workbench, but if you've got something longer and you need to move it, you can always take it out of, let's see if I can grab it actually. Can I find the center of my screen? Yeah, so you can move it out of its little hidey hole, and then that is lower than the surface of the desk, the workbench, so it'd be fine to slide things all the way across. Was my thought. I have a couple of tools here, but only a couple. So I've got like the bench press thing where you can like, or the clamp that you can hold things down with, and then I've got a wrench. But that's pretty much it. I didn't fill any of the drawers yet. That's to come, you know, pending progress. I didn't get that done. I also, there was something I wanted, if I find rackets, I'll put those on the shelves here. I feel like there was something else that I was supposed to put on the shelves, but now I don't remember what that was. But there potentially other things would fill out the shelves a little bit more. One thing I did, well, a couple more things I did. I did the sawhorses here for, you know, if you're working on a woodworking project, you need to cut stuff. I figured the dad and maybe the son is interested in that too, so we've got some stuff to build your own whatever, bookshelf, bookcase, just regular shelf, anything really, if you would need to cut boards for it. Maybe you're building a bed frame. Then I put a sled up on the wall, and we're going to talk for a minute about the golf bag. So this has legs that actually, let me just grab it off the wall. You'll see them, right? It's got legs. They don't fold. I can't, it doesn't want to be put on a wall. For one, that was another finicky thing that I had to do, manually placing it on this wall. But if it had placed on the wall, in this situation, if it had been placed on the wall, the legs didn't collapse, right? So the legs are still out. And unfortunately, I'm gonna, behind the scenes, you can't see this from the other direction, so it doesn't really matter, but I'm still gonna take you behind the scenes. Those legs, they go into the wall and then into the fridge. So they go like literally, you can see them if you're on this side. Whoops. Where am I? You can see them. I thought you could. Where did I see them before? They should be like right here. That's weird. I know they go into this fridge. I saw them before. Well, it's right there. Oh, I guess maybe it doesn't come out the backside. That's the deal. Okay, so it goes in the fridge, but it doesn't come out the very back of the fridge. Well, that's nice. I definitely thought this was worse than it is. I do need to move that bowl, though. That bowl is going into the back of the fridge, and I didn't realize that. I don't know when that happened. I'm pretty sure that was proper before. But anyway, so they go into the wall and technically into the fridge, which isn't ideal, but I guess that's why they're not visible. I was always wondering why I couldn't see them from the inside of the fridge. But it just, there wasn't another option. They don't fold up. That there's no collapsed version of this to hang on a wall, and I really wanted this hung on the wall because that A, takes it up off the floor, which is safer for it, for one, and then also just like unclutters the floor, and the floor's got a lot going on already. It's not busy and it's not cluttered, but it's like there's a lot of stuff that just already needs to go on the floor, so I didn't want it there. The other thing I did was I neatly arranged scuba gear, and the flippers, those are designed so that you can just place them on the wall. Let's see if I can grab one. So like I can move this around to any spot on the wall and it's fine with that. I cannot do the same with this. It doesn't want to go on a wall, right? So what I did with those, and the goggles don't want to just be on a hook. Let's see if I can grab one of those. My fireman. Oh. Yeah, like it doesn't want to be on the hook, right? I did that manually. And what I did was I put all of these things, all the goggles and the snorkels, on this. You can see them moving now, right? I put them on top of this workbench, and then when I wanted them on the wall, I very manually finicky, this was another hours-long project, moved them into place. I put all these hooks up first, the ones for the goggles to hang off of, quote-unquote, because again, they don't hang naturally. That would be really nice if they had added that to the game, because there's a little opening for them to hang so nice and neatly, but they don't. But I did put hooks up for them to do that. And then I moved the goggles into place, and I lined them all up off of each other so they're like hanging at the exact same height and angle and all of that. It's very, very minutia specific movement placement of all of these things. All the snorkels line up, all of the, yeah, just everything. It's all lined up because I am very particular and fussy. I don't quite have OCD, but I'm on the border of that. I'm very fussy about things. So, yeah, but I wanted the snorkels and I actually don't know. I'm guessing like some sort of clamp system. I've seen stuff like that for brooms to like hang a broom on a wall. That would be how this snorkel is attached to the wall, is some sort of like clamping thing that could be easily removed from the snorkel so that you can take it down. I have no idea how the flippers are on the wall, or because they're just like, the game was like, yeah, these could go on the wall. I'm like, but how? How would those get attached? That doesn't actually make that much sense to me. I guess if they were flipped around, they've got this opening for the foot, right? Like maybe if they were flipped around, they'd hang by that side off of a peg or something. Like if I use the same kind for the goggles and hung them off of that seems like that would make sense. But the way that they hang on the wall currently doesn't to me personally. But I'm glad that they do. I'm glad that they can be on a wall because this is the setup I essentially wanted for them. So that's nice. And it keeps them off of like the shelves and the floor and wherever. And then lastly, over in this corner, so I moved, you can see, because used to be where the garbage and recycling were, and I moved them because bikes being over here really did not work, or really anywhere, because they were going to stand out into the walking path too much and just block it. They're big vehicles, right? So this was kind of the only spot in the garage that made any sense for them besides up on a wall. And again, I don't have utility hooks, so I thought about placing them on the wall, and I think you can place them on walls. Oh, maybe you can't. Never mind. So that was another finicky thing I could have done, but didn't. But yeah, I thought about putting them up on the wall, but really that's what you would do in the winter time when they're out of season, right? You're not going to be riding around on your bike in the winter. So then you hang it up and get it up off the floor and make room for other things. And that is when you could bring the snowblower in from the shed and put it here. Is like fall going into winter. You're like, oh, it's going to start snowing soon. Let's put the bikes away. Let's bring the snowblower in. That would make a lot of sense. But for summer, you need a place for them to be where they're out and easily accessible. And I personally hate when they're just leaned against a wall against each other because they get all tangled up and it's hard to get at the one you need. So you'd still have to pull out the daughter's bike to get at the son's bike, but it's better, right? So this is better. I don't especially love the bike rack. The detailing on it just doesn't quite fit their space, but it's the only one that was a straight out bike rack. All the other ones were angled, and it was going to put the bike tires in the walking path of this door. So I went with this one. I tried shoving it in the wall and I didn't like how that looked either. So bear with me. That's not how I imagine the back of that looking. We've got the, I keep wanting to call them snowboards. Those are over here. The surfboards. And so we've got one for the dad and then one for each of the kids. I decided the mom doesn't surf. She's not into that. No surfing for her. So we don't have a surfboard for her. Just the 3 for the others. But they're all into surfing. So we've got stuff for them. So that is the garage, and that's where I'm going to end the daytime stuff, and we'll go into nighttime mode and show off the lighting for all of this, and then that will be the end of this video, and we'll make the next one. So let me go outside here and close the garage, and then we'll go back into place for our nighttime view. Okay, I will see you in a moment with nighttime. Okay, so now we have the nighttime view, and I just have to say how freaking amazing I find it with the lighting changes. So it used to be really dark, and I don't know how much you remember from the other videos, but I definitely never noticed all these stars. And they added this level of detail. Like, the clouds were always there, and they were always impressive. I still love that they have clouds that move across the sky like this, but I never noticed all of these stars, and I just find that so cool. And they also have a moon, and it's really detailed. Like, I can't get closer to it, but it looks so good from here. So I am massively impressed with the nighttime changes and how the lighting works now. It is a lot, like the lights inside feel a lot brighter when I turn them on, so I adjusted a whole bunch of lights everywhere, just to make things less in your face, because I found several of the rooms started to be really glowy now with the lighting changes, which is, I guess that's because the ambient light is, so bright now. When I walk around inside the house without lights on, I'm not terrified anymore. Being out here without any lights on, I'm not terrified anymore. It just feels really nice. This is how my vision feels once I'm night adjusted, right? And I'm outside hanging out, unless it's super cloudy and dark. But this is how this would feel. I like the change a lot, but I did have to adjust some of the inside lights because they made spaces glow way too much. So I'm gonna walk past this and trip it. So this is the outside lighting. This one, because I attached it to these wall lights, they are attached to all of the outside lights. So this does turn on like every light on the property. And I wanted to comment on that because that's not how this would work. It would only be for these lights along the garage, right? These side of house lights would turn on and off with that little sensor bit. And then they'd be controlled by a switch as well somewhere, or just night controlled, I guess. But I wouldn't want them on all night, so they'd probably could be on some setting that would turn them on at a certain time, turn them off at a certain time. But they'd also be set to trigger off of this, just in case. So, yeah, so that was my thought on those. And then let's see. Oh, we'll go in the garage for a second, and I'm gonna turn on the lights if I can. Let's see, is it gonna let me turn on this light without going in? Aha! So we'll turn on all the outside lights. Turn that back off and close this garage door. We'll go in there later. But, so this is the outside all lit up at night now. I thought about, and I forgot to do this, but adding some light over by the soccer field-ish area so that you can still use that at nighttime. So I'll have to consider how I do that and whether or not I add the glass changes how I do the lighting. So I'm kind of glad I didn't do it yet, but I do think I'll add some lighting in there somehow so that it's usable at night. So the side of the house doesn't feel overwhelmingly dark anymore now that they changed the lighting, but I still think it would make sense to have something over here to work around nighttime. So we've got these lights still. I wanted to walk around and show them because, again, lighting changes. So I did leave these ones the brightness they are, but they actually affect things more, it feels like now. Maybe I'm crazy. Maybe I'm making that up, but I feel like with the ambient light that they are, or ambient light that they, ambient? I can't say that word properly because of ambiance, and I keep wanting to say that instead. But yeah, I feel like they light things up a lot more now than they were before, and the space doesn't feel quite so shaded around the pool now, which is nice. I like that a lot. So we've got that going on. Maybe I still need some more lights in here. What would really be ideal, and maybe I'll do what I did with the sunshades, is hang some lights out of this tree. Ones that would be solar powered, right? So they'd hang from the tree and light up this space, just hanging off branches. And then that way you don't have like posts of light in the ground anywhere, or some sort of weird spotlight shining on this area, but you could still use it at night. I think that's probably what I'll end up doing. The other thing I forgot to add light to was the shed, which I don't know that you would use it at night, but in case you do, I should probably put like a light on either side here just to kind of light up the space a little bit. I'll probably end up doing that. But in here, this looks so cozy with the fire, or well, the fire's not on, but with the lighting around the fire pit. It's so nice. And then if you add the fire to it, then it adds this nice warm glow to the whole space, and it's just so lovely. I adore this. This is great. I will show it in a minute after I'm done walking through everything with the lights off and just the fireplace, because that also looks really cozy and could be something that you would do. I don't know how I would set up, like maybe I add one of those posts like I have out there and add a light switch to it here so that you could kind of control these lights a bit and turn them off. But also I kind of imagine that they would be solar powered as well, like all the others, so maybe not. I don't know. It would be nice though to have a switch that could, you know, control them rather by your mood, right? So like, I want it more dark in here and just a little bit more private feeling, intimate feeling. So this is, I would maybe put some lights along here. I haven't yet, obviously, along this little walkway going back. I think I will. I think I'll use the same kind that are over by the flowers that light up the flowers so nicely. I think I'll stick a row of those along here to get you over to this, which again, not lit up, but at nighttime with the lighting changes, it sure doesn't look super dark. This would be usable at night in my world, you know, like in the real world in my head. This is how this would look, and I would definitely play outside at night like this. But yeah, I still think it'd be nice to have some lights, especially in case it was an overcast day where there wasn't really a lot of moonlight shining into the space. And lastly, we'll go in the, well, I guess I'll do the pergola area. I did tone down these lights a little bit so that they aren't blinding when you're in here. Let's just use this feature to turn it on, and I'll sit down in one of the chairs. So this is how it feels now, being in this space. And it's still, the lighting doesn't feel overwhelming. It feels cozy and nice. So I like this. I think that this is a good setup for that area. We'll go in the garage through this door. That's what I probably should have been doing this entire time. I don't know why I didn't. And then let's turn on our garage lights. Those were the outside lights. Oops. Come on. Where are my lights? There we go. Sorry about that. So here, I'll show you real quick, as annoying as this is, what happens when I walk away. It turns off all of the lights. So I have to turn them back on again. Somehow I'm triggering those outside lights with the walking close to that thing. It's triggering through its backside, which is weird. It shouldn't do that. Okay, so I have to stay away from this side of the wall, but this is what this looks like all lit up at night. So I took out several of the lights. You'll notice, like, there were ones along behind these two cars where the garage doors were. So now there's only the one. And then along this whole sidewall, I think I deleted 2 lights that were on that sidewall, and one that was up here, and then the one over the door in here, and one on that wall too. So like I deleted a lot of lights because you just really don't need a lot anymore. It still has that one light under the stairs to I think it's under the stairs. Let's see if I can crouch and see it. No, did I just mess up my lights in here? Maybe I gotta fly to see it. Yeah, the one under the stairs. I'm not crazy. Okay. I'm just like tripping that one light over and over and over again. The one that's over by the pergola. I wish it didn't see through its backside. That's a little annoying. Anyway, so yeah, so I removed a bunch of lights in here because they just don't feel necessary anymore. This is plenty of light for, I guess maybe I'll add one more back over here because I feel like maybe this workbench is a little dark. And so if you're working on a project at night, you'd maybe need more light over here where you're working. But otherwise, the rest of this feels like it's lit up enough for my tastes. I can always tone down the brightness of the lights too if I add a couple more. But yeah, this is the garage at night, and I think that it's decent. I think that it's lit up well enough to see all the important things. Except, like I said, maybe the workbench. Maybe that needs a little bit more light. Well, we'll see about duplicating one of these and adding it in. But yeah, this is everything. This is it at night. So the next video will be a walkthrough of the kitchen, and depending on how long that one takes, the upstairs as well. I made minor changes upstairs, and then I will probably have to do a third separate video for the basement, just because I think I talk a little bit too much, even though I didn't make a ton of changes down there. I think I talk a little bit too much in the kitchen area to make it part of that. Okay, well, thank you very much for watching, and I hope you enjoyed this video. This took months of time. As I said, all 3 of these were like months and months of time, and then I just didn't know where to stop and make a video. So I hope that this was enjoyable and that you appreciate the design so far. There's more to come for sure. I'll see you in the next one. I lied. I'm back. I forgot that I had said I was going to show you what this looks like without all the lights on and just the fire pit. So really quickly, this is the cozy warmth of this space without the lights on. And looking at it, maybe I don't need the lights to have a switch where they turn off. This is nice. This is like very cozy, but I think I like it with the lights on. So yeah, that's the fire pit area without any of the surrounding lights turned on. Now I'm actually done. Thank you again. Have a great day.